Well, the DNC has been pretty fun, I guess. They're giving all these speeches where you'd have to be, I don't know. We get it. We get it. The Democrats don't pay attention. They have no idea what's going on. So they cheer for things that make no sense, and they're lied to incessantly. I think it's fascinating that at the DNC, Pete Buttigieg mentions that he was on Fox News. Fox News is willing to entertain these guests. There's this woman, what's her name? Jessica Tarlov, is that her name, on the 5? And Fox News will actually have on a Democrat to argue their ideas, exposing their audience to what Democrats think. And she's not bad. She makes her arguments. She is well-versed. And they're not just putting some moron token Democrat on the show. She actually argues back and argues well. I think she's wrong. Democrats don't do that. MSNBC, CNN, it's all garbled nonsense. They lie, they cheat, they steal. You got Josh Shapiro up on stage saying they want to tell your kids what books they can't read. That is correct. The books we're talking about them not reading are the ones that are pornographic. But it's kind of funny because they're arguing for just absolute freedom to read whatever book you want. It's like that's never been the case. Like there are pornographic books that have always been restricted. They're called adult bookstores. I mean, they're mostly pictures, but you get the point. Well, my friends, last night was a lot of fun. Oprah Winfrey took a swipe at childless cat ladies, and then the camera pans to some morbidly obese Maryland Democrat woman who, like, looks around confused, and she's become the she's become the image of the childless cat lady, I guess. Apparently, she's married. I don't know if she has kids or cats, but it's not really. I don't think it's working out for them. And the question I have is, well, I should say this. There's also a clip of Dana Bash on CNN saying that Tim Walz caters to low testosterone men. Okay, she says men who aren't busting with testosterone or something like this. Well, it is true. There are effeminate, weak men that exist who want to cry and go, oh, Democrats. I guess, and someone's got to speak for them. And then there are childless cat ladies. And I'm just kind of like, wow. You know, the Democrats, I think they actually do represent the organized outcasts. You know, you look at what a man is, and you look at what conservatives want, and you look at what a woman is. And conservatives are certainly not all beautiful, chiseled, intelligent. No, they come in all shapes and sizes. But they strive to be the best versions of themselves. They're a bunch that favors meritocracy. And the Democrats, I think it's the people who don't strive for that, don't know how to obtain it, and are jealous, envious. You know, look, I've said it a million times, but I really do see the Democrats as just representing the 7 deadly sins. And envy here is a great component. It's no wonder why, whenever someone succeeds, the Democrats claim it was through someone else's hard work. The famous thing I think it was Barack Obama said, you didn't build that. You didn't build that. Yeah, I did. And many people contribute, of course, but leadership builds. You talk about, Donald Trump got $1 million from his dad. That's why he got rich. Turning $1 million into $4 billion. I got to tell you, if you could go to anybody, and they promised you that return, you'd take it. So you give $1 million now. Any ultra wealthy individual, you go to someone and they say, in 25 years, you give me $1 million today. In 25 years, I got you $2 billion. They're going to be like, you'd be nuts not to take that offer. The idea that Donald Trump turned $1 million into several $1 billion it's tremendous. Anybody who runs a small business knows that $1 million does not get you very far. Depending on the size of the business, $1 million might be 1 month operating costs, like a car dealership, like I mentioned. And Donald Trump turned that into billions. They have to make excuses. They say everything Donald Trump touches turns to garbage. Yeah. That is not correct. Not correct indeed, my friends. But we got a bunch of other news to talk about. We'll talk about the RFK Jr. endorsement. He's going to be popping up in Friday in Phoenix, which is a big deal. And a couple of more news. I mean, I haven't talked about the foreign policy stuff in a minute, but this is getting pretty scary. You've got Ukraine invading Russia, outright invading Russia. And then what's the other story that I have? Ken Paxton's investigating illegal immigrant being registered to vote in Texas. This is the warning a lot of people have given over the HAVV story. So it should be interesting. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com and buy Cast Brew coffee because it's delicious. Appalachian Nights is our best seller. So I probably should be promoting other blends like Rise with Roberto Jr., Stand Your Grounds, or Mr. Boca's Pumpkin Spice Experience. There are 319 bags of Mr. Boca's Pumpkin Spice left. When they're gone forever. Actually, I wonder if that's just whole bean, right? Okay, no, we do have ground, and there's 293. So just around 600 or so bags of Mr. Bocas left. When that is gone, it is gone forever because Mr. Bocas died. Rest in peace, Mr. Bocas. And so we're going to be making our espresso blend focus with Mr. Bocas as our in memoriam for him, and we'll be retiring the pumpkin spice blend. But also go to Timcast.com. Click join us, become a member to support our work directly. That membership sustains everything, makes all of this possible. And without your support, we couldn't do this. So if you think we do a good job, if you think the morning show, the nightly show, and everything the crew here at Timcast is working on is important, go to Timcast.com, click join us, $10 a month. You're supporting our work and getting access to the bonus Members Call-In podcast, which is Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m., where you as members actually get to call into the show, join us, and talk to our guests. You know, a lot of podcasts, you pay $10 a month and they give you like 1 or 2 bonus episodes per month. We give you 4 hour-long. I think it averages around 45 minutes, 45 to 50 minutes a show, Monday through Friday. So 4 every single week but for $10 per month. So I think that's an excellent value proposition. We try to go above and beyond and do the extra work. And, I just want, it's a good show. It's a good show. I think you'll enjoy it. And I think our members have given tremendous insights and helped shape the views. I think the decentralized network has been extremely capable. We had one member point out the shadow campaign may be to put fake ballots for Trump in the election. That way, when Trump does win, because they think he's going to win, they say, aha, we found fraudulent ballots and Trump was the one who cheated. And the Democrats in Congress use this as a means to block Trump's certification. That's coming from our members. So smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Let's jump to this story. You know what, man? I felt like just having fun today. There's a lot of news to talk about. We could talk about the RFK stuff. We will. We'll have those clips up later today. But I was laughing this morning. This actually is one of the top trending stories. Oprah Winfrey takes swipe at Vance's childless cat lady comment in surprise DNC appearance. Childless cat ladies, how dare you insult a core constituency of the Democratic Party? Dear J.D. Vance. Oprah Winfrey spoke at the Democratic Convention for the first time on Wednesday night, giving an enthusiastic endorsement to Kamala Harris, while encouraging independents and undecided voters to turn out for the Democrats. In a forceful, vigorous speech that ranged from school integration to childless cat ladies, Winfrey sought to encourage voters to cast their ballot for the best of America. Is that Trump? Winfrey said she was a registered independent and called on other independents and undecideds to vote. Spare me, Oprah. It's not working, okay? Independent voters are going to the grocery store and they know you're lying. I mean, one of the big stories from last night is that they're cooking the books. Cooking the books. That's what they're saying. 818,000 jobs were wrongly added to the economic numbers. And these people have the nerve to go around being like, the economy is actually better under Joe Biden. Don't you realize that? Sure, I realize it when I go to buy a can of whipped cream and it's $6. Dude, I remember the metric I like to use is the salami that we buy. Because we buy snacks for the office, right? So we got snacks. And we get these packs of salami. They're delicious. And you dip them in cheese or whatever. You make little charcuterie. They were like $7 3 years ago. And now they're like $13 or $14. Okay, so I noticed that. We grabbed a bunch. We grabbed like 10 packs. Because we have, 30 plus employees or whatever. And we put them in the, we bring them back. We put them in the fridge. They're gone within like a week or two. And we go to checkout, and I'm like, wait, hold on, something's wrong. I'm looking at the price, and I'm like, no, wait, what did we get? And then they point out to me like, sir, these are 13 something each. And I was like, holy crap. So a couple weeks ago, I wanted to get strawberries and whipped cream, and the whipped cream was $6, you're not going to come to me and tell me everything is going fine. You're not going to come to me and tell me that inflation isn't bad. Dude, these whipped cream cans are supposed to be like $2.75, not $6. I couldn't believe it. I had to only get 3. No, wait, we got 4 of them. I'm like, I guess I'm only getting 4 whipped creams this time. Actually, so we get snacks for the office. That's what I'm saying, right? So they want to say independents should vote for Democrats, but they gaslight. They just lie. But you know what? People believe it. They don't pay attention and they believe it. And a great example is when Josh Shapiro says they want to take away the freedom of, the books your kids can read or whatever. Lying. I just looked at a list of the Democrats and the liberals that our booking team has reached out to come on this show, well, not this show, but IRL or Culture War, and they won't do it. Now, the Krasensteins, I give them credit. Despite disagreeing with them and thinking they're bad people, I have to give them credit and respect because they do respond, explain why they can or can't, and they actually interact. I can respect that, absolutely. I think they're lying. I think they want political power and money. Because I'm going to be honest with you, but I can respect they'll actually respond. So they get a shout out. They do. These people won't come on this show. They refuse to because they know their views are fake. They know they're lying and manipulating people, and they can't answer basic questions. But enough. I know what you want to see. You want to see Oprah Winfrey call a fat Democrat a cat lady. Okay, well, without further ado.
And despite what some would have you think, we are not so different from our neighbors. When a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion. We don't wonder who their partner is or how they voted. No, we just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady.
Cue camera. Now, hold on a minute. Someone did that on purpose. Okay. For those that are just listening, the camera just panned to a morbidly obese. I'm not saying it to be mean. Okay. It is a morbidly obese woman. She is dangerously overweight, and it pans to her, and she's just, looking like, what? And she looks around clearly because she knows they put her on the screen. That wasn't an accident.
Well, we try to get that cat out too.
It goes to show you that Oprah knows nothing of cats and cat ladies, but I'll play this again for you.
Just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady.
She pauses. Okay, so for the duration of this clip, this is CBS, by the way, they don't pan the camera to anyone. As soon as she says childless cat lady and pauses, it then cuts to this morbidly obese delegate from Maryland. She is a dangerously fat woman. I call on her friends and family to intervene, and they should be telling her to please reduce your carbs. Your caloric intake. Carbs are probably what you're consuming too much of. You are going to get cancer. You are going to die. It is bad. And I want this woman to be healthy and successful. And the funny thing is, I can say this, right? Oprah used to be, she fluctuates in weight quite a bit. I have as well. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. pointing out the other day that a couple years ago, I was a bit myself, cherubic. And I sought to lose weight. I think everybody should be proud. I don't think should be ashamed of being fat. I think should be ashamed of not trying to lose the weight, not trying to eat better and be a better person. If you at home are watching right now and you are overweight and you're like, I'm not going to be a better person. Well, I think that's something to be ashamed of. I don't think it's shameful to have fallen off your horse. It is shameful to refuse to get back up. So anyway, I digress. This lady needs to lose weight. But come on, they did that on purpose. They did that on purpose. There's no way that the cameraman accidentally singled out this fat woman. Now, I believe she's married. That's what they've reported. But they're doing this on purpose. And I got to tell you, It's because they know that a large portion of their constituency is quite literally single, childless cat ladies. I am not saying that to insult single, childless cat ladies. Not all single, childless cat ladies are bad people who want to burn the country to the ground in their stupor or ignorance. There are, in fact, many childless cat ladies who are quite intelligent and probably will vote for Donald Trump. But it is not the majority. 70 some odd % of millennial women are voting Democrat. They are single, they have no children, and they have many cats. Too many. I think 1 cat is fine, 2 cats is okay. Alex Stein, I tell you, is a childless cat man. But he knows what's up. He's not single, by the way. He's in a lovely relationship, and we're big fans. But he has many cats as well. You're allowed to have cats. I like cats. Everybody likes cats. Hey, but I also want to point out, when Oprah says we try to save the cat too, lady, do you know anything about cats? Okay, first of all, most people, I think, have outdoor cats. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but a lot of cats are outdoor cats, meaning they can come and go as they please. They're cats. But, okay, fine. If there's a fire and the cat is trapped, save the cat. But cats usually just bounce. You know what I mean? They're like, I'm out the moment there's trouble. Okay, okay, save the cat. Fine. But don't take my word for it when I say this is their constituency. I want to play this clip from Dana Bash, CNN. Listen to this.
But they are doing so in trying to put forward male figures, Tim Walz being one of them, Doug Emhoff last night, who can speak to men out there who might not be the sort of testosterone-laden, gun-toting kind of guy who wants to listen to Hulk Hogan and the kind of players that came out at the RNC, or might want to listen to that, but also, in addition, understand that it's okay in 2024 to be a man comfortable in his own skin who supports a woman.
See how she struggled to get that out of her mouth? I'm going to play it again for you. Let's play it again. It's only a minute.
But they are doing so in trying to put forward male figures, Tim Walz being one of them, Doug Emhoff last night, who can speak to men out there who might not be the sort of testosterone-laden, gun-toting kind of guy who wants to listen to Hulk Hogan and the kind of players that came out at the RNC, or might want to listen to that, but also, in addition, understand that it's okay in 2024 to be a man comfortable in his own skin who supports a woman. And that's something that they really are trying to work on with male voters beyond the base.
Okay. Now, some people, Charlie Kirk says, Dana Bash just said the Harris-Walz campaign is tailoring their message to appeal to low testosterone men by using Doug Emhoff and Tim Walz. Well, she didn't say low testosterone. She just said men who aren't testosterone laden. But Charlie's right. Laden doesn't mean overflowing with. It just means like at capacity. Well, let me get the exact definition. Laden means heavily loaded and weighed down. Okay, fine. There you go. Heavily loaded men. To Charlie, who is bustling with pure testosterone, too much testosterone, Kirk, they call him, that anyone of normal testosterone must be a low testosterone man. I'm kidding, by the way. Charlie seems to be a regular guy. She's not saying low testosterone guys, but she kind of is. You know what I mean? Because you look at the guys who are at the DNC and you kind of get it. So a lot of people have pointed this out, and I'll point it out now. Because Democrats, they get real salty over this stuff. They get real salty over it. Republicans tend to be high testosterone guys. It's true. The women tend to be busty and beautiful. Tend to be. Not always. I was at the RNC. Saw a lot of fat dudes, a lot of fat chicks. It exists. But it's a tendency. The data shows this. Washington Post published this several years ago. There are numerous studies and reports showing conservatives tend to be more attractive. And then you look at the DNC. The men tend to be short, effeminate, frail, and the women tend to be frumpy and overweight, hence childless cat ladies. And that's why they embrace it. And that's why the right eschews it. The right is meritocratic. They say you shouldn't be a single childless cat lady. You can be, it's fine. Just be aware of your surroundings. And if you're a guy, start lifting, start eating better. And who were we talking to? They said when you're overweight, this was recently on IRL. I think it was Mark Lobliner. When you're overweight, fat is very estrogenic. So the fatter you are, the less testosterone you're producing. You got to get that fat off and you got to start working out. But instead of telling, and this is the thing about the Democratic Party, the reason why they say it's fine, it's okay, just be you, is because they know if these people were encouraged to better themselves, they'd quit the Democratic Party. If you got two guys standing around and they're like, I don't know what to do to feel better, to do right, you go to one of them and say, listen, man, it's up to you. No one's going to pull you out of this. You need to eat right. You need to stay hydrated, take your vitamins, and you need to exercise. Whether it's lifting, cardio, whatever it is you're doing, start that exercise now. The path of the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and today is the day you're going to do 1 push-up. And tomorrow you're going to do 2 push-ups. And the next day, you're going to take a break. But the day after, you do 3 push-ups. And you're going to figure it out. And one day you will look back and you will have a 6-pack and you will be ripping your shirt off like Hulk Hogan, wondering how it was you were ever so doughy. And you're going to say to yourself, it was a decision I made and hard work that I did. The idea that someone else could do it for me, impossible. No one can exercise you for you. That person's going to be healthier. They're going to live longer. They're going to be happier. Science proves it. The other guy, you go to him and say, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's the government's fault. You know, those bigwigs, and that guy made fun of you. You should just keep eating your ho-hos and ding-dongs because it makes you feel good now, doesn't it? And then you'll be sad, depressed, and dependent. You'll wonder why it is life is harder for you. And then along comes the communists saying, don't worry, vote for us, and we'll give you everything you want, and we'll make you feel good. That's the dirty game. Now, I think over a long enough period of time, this is the direction that things go. Meaning today, we may not be looking at abject communism from the Democratic Party, but elements of it. And you look at elements of the Republican Party, and you're looking at meritocracy, but not completely. But over a long enough period of time, the hyperpolarization will become more and more apparent. As people become childless, obese cat ladies, obese childless cat ladies, that's the proper order, then with the lack of success, with the animosity developed and the culture around it, it is going to lend itself to more and more communistic policies. Gimme, gimme, gimme. I can't do it for myself. You do it for me. Why should someone else have to work for you? That's slavery, man. We shouldn't do it that way. Why are we doing labor to produce goods and resources that fund Ukraine, who's invading Russia right now and is likely going to kick off World War III? It's terrifying to me how, we've been so entrenched in American domestic politics over this election that it's actually not been the biggest news ever that Ukraine has invaded Russia. And it's not Ukraine, it's NATO. Things are going to get spicy. Well, my friends, I want to show you this. And I'm not going to completely rag on Tim Walz's kid here, but I do want to play this video. Here you go. Is he going to talk?
Never experienced the hell that is infertility. I guarantee you, you know somebody who has. And I can remember praying each night for a phone call.
I just want to point out, Tim Walz is lying about all of this. This is hilarious.
The pit in your stomach when the phone had rang, and the absolute agony when we heard the treatments hadn't worked. It took Gwen and I years, but we had access to fertility treatments. And when our daughter was born, we named her Hope. Hope, Gus, and Gwen, you are my entire world, and I love you.
There's his son, crying, saying, I love you, Dad, pointing up, clapping, very excited, very excited.
On how we started a family.
Okay, I'm of two minds on this one. Part of me is, my heart is warmed to see Tim Walz cheering for his children, his son crying, proud of his dad, clapping for him. It makes me feel good. Okay. I like it. I respect it. The other part of me is kind of like, brother, calm down a little bit. But respect where respect is due. A man cheering for his family and his family cheering for him is the kind of message we want more of. And I will stress that again. It does give me, it does warm my heart to see 17-year-old Gus proud of his dad clapping. Now, I think your dad's a bad guy. I think he's a liar. He lied about all this. Tim Walz has described his family's IVF experience, but they used a different procedure. That's one way of saying he lied. Okay, look. So I'm of two minds on this one. The one is like, in the general sense, watching a son cheer for his dad, who's on stage as the vice presidential candidate, in any normal circumstance, is a proud moment for this country. It really is. But this is not a normal circumstance. This is a kid who doesn't understand his dad's, or maybe he does. He's clapping and cheering for a dude who's just spitting in the face of the American people. So it really ruins the moment, doesn't it? You know, his daughter is there. She's welling up. Her dad's saying, we called her hope. He's nearly crying. Like I said, in any normal circumstance, when I would cheer this on, I would say, to a degree, I still do, with respect. You know, a kid happy, proud of his, I think his kids are right there behind him. But he's lying. He lied about his rank. He lied about not knowing about, I don't know if he lied about this, but the media's lied, claiming he didn't know he was going to be deployed to Iraq. Heavy criticism from the men who served in his unit, saying that he abandoned them. One guy called him a traitor. It's a little strong, man. He just retired. He's allowed to retire. You know what I mean? But there's criticism from other soldiers who are like, they knew before orders came in that they were going to be deployed. And so he files to retire and wants to run for Congress. And I'm like, yeah, I'm 50-50 on this one. You're allowed to retire, man. There's a lot of people who don't want to be deployed. It is what it is. But I do think it's fair to say that there are a lot of people criticizing him, calling him out, saying he abandoned them. Their criticism is apt. But I'll just stress, the kid crying, clapping, and just, dad. Yeah, your dad's a liar. He's spitting on this country. He spit on your state. He allowed these riots to persist, and it's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I do not respect these people at all. I only will give respect to the fact of that there's the general concept of a son proud of his dad and a dad proud of his kids. That is a surface level thing that as life, as a form of life, we celebrate. And I'll give it to him. I'm not going to rag on a man, cheering for his kids, saying he loves him, and his kids cheering for him. That's absolutely not the point. The point is, you're cheering on a guy who's lying on stage. And I love how PBS does, just say it, okay? Just say it. Tim Walz has described his family's IVF experience, but they used a different procedure. It's a fine way of saying he lied, okay? This is what the man does, okay? He uses what's called assumptive manipulation or assumptive language. So he goes up on stage and he says something like, Donald Trump wants to ban IVF. The Republicans are saying they want to get rid of IVF, and with their laws, they'll do it. I remember when we were going through this, fertility issues in my family, and the procedure, they said it wasn't going to work. We didn't know. You see what he's doing there is he's trying to make you think they used IVF when they didn't. They did not. It's fine, dude. Just tell the truth, Be clear about it. Now, certainly with the stolen valor stuff, they've tried to become a little more clear on what they're talking about, what he means to say. Because this dude lied over and over and over again. He was not command sergeant major. He was apparently a master sergeant, like a whole rank down. Lied about it. Didn't correct the record. That's crazy, man. That's what he does. That's the game he plays. So spare me. And apparently his daughter was part of, it's a lot of people are saying that his daughter helped the riots destroy Minnesota. Hey, look, man, these people want to live this way. I say but one thing. I understand why people say national divorce. Because you're like, look, if Minnesota wants to elect this guy and they want to burn down their own state, just don't vote for our national, don't tell Alabama what they got to do. I live in West Virginia, okay? MAGA country, whether you like it or not. We have constitutional carry. We're also in the mountains. There are bears. There are many bears. It's Appalachia. Apparently, there are big cats, too. I don't know. Never seen one. We did have a bear encounter while we were sleeping. A bear came up on our porch and tried to get at our chickens. This is a couple of years ago. So, that was in Maryland, by the way. People were shocked because the bears usually don't cross the river, they say. I don't know. But it must have been desperate. Out here in West Virginia, I shouldn't have to worry about whether or not I can protect myself from a bear. You want to make an argument that in Baltimore, you shouldn't be walking around with a gun or something like that. Make your argument. I still think 2A stands. And so it's a difficult argument. I don't think you're going to succeed there. Amend the Constitution. Sorry, have a nice day. But how about this? If you want your state to burn to the ground, fine, just leave me out of it. And so if I live in West Virginia and we've got real practical needs for self-defense, especially with something stronger than, say, like a 5.56, you're going to need something protect you from a bear in certain areas. You're going to be walking around with something a bit more powerful. And they have the nerve to say you shouldn't be allowed to have it because it's an assault weapon. Bro, you don't live here, okay? Go deal with your issues in Minneapolis and let your rioters riot and then leave us out of it. So I understand why people say national divorce, but I tell you this, it's not going to end well. National divorce will just result in war and conflict. But I think the soft approach a lot of people have is fine. If the far left and Democrats want their psychotic way of life, let them have it. Just leave me alone. It will never end that way. Because when Minnesota burns themselves to the ground and they have no food, or they go up north and loot the farms and there's nothing left, and they're going to do it, the government will help. Then what's going to happen is the people who live in that state are going to go looking for food somewhere else. They're going to go look for food somewhere else, and that's going to be where you are. Got to fly. Nope. He got away. I got this taser swatter, and I'm going to get him. I'm going to try to get him. Nope, he got away. He got away. Anyway, I'll tell you this, my friends. Right as I was closing the studio door, the fly flew right in like 3 minutes before going live. And I'm like, are you kidding me? They just love coming in here. Damn flies. Anyway, back to the news. We have this Shapiro clip I want to play for you guys. Here you go.
It's not freedom to tell our children what books they're allowed to read.
These people are evil. I'm sorry, man. Evil. Shapiro knows exactly what we're talking about. He doesn't care. They want kids to read porn. They do. Why? Yeah, because they're evil, dude. It's demonic. Demonic evil. I don't know what else to tell you. You can see it plain as day. We are not talking about, I got a Thomas Paine book right here. No one's saying, kid, don't read Thomas Paine. There are some schools that have banned certain books for kids in the curriculum, but it's not like they're saying don't ever read it. What the Democrats are doing is they're conflating two different things. Well, they're lying about two different things. First, there are certain books that are not pornographic, that are not appropriate for children. And so many conservative parents, actually I think many liberal too, have just been like, don't include that book in the curriculum. It can be in the library. It's maybe adult themed and maybe not appropriate for all children, but they can check it out if they want. But the school shouldn't make it part of the curriculum required reading or class. Then there's the overt, graphic, disgusting imagery where they're teaching kids about, sorry, I hate to say it, but in one of these books, it explains eating human feces for sexual gratification. That's what Josh Shapiro wants your kids to read. Now, I don't know that he wouldn't let his kids read it. Of course not. But he is a degenerate scumbag who wants your kids to read it. Alex Jones hit the nail on the head with a hammer. He said they lay bear traps, tell you where they are, and if you step in it, they say, well, it's your fault. That's what this is. I wonder if the real purpose of the Democratic Party, whether intentionally or otherwise, or accidentally, it's a great filter. Stupid people flock to this group. They get vasectomies, abortions, and sex changes, which sterilize them. And it destroys their lives and it inhibits their functions. And they weren't smart enough to find their way out of it in the first place. Perhaps the Democratic-Republican system, as of today, is literally just let stupid people do stupid things through it and make it artificial or natural selection. They called it social Darwinism back in the day, and they claimed that it was the Republican Party that did it. The liberals said that if the Republicans believe in social Darwinism, that if you're too stupid, so be it, it's your fault, bye. And they were lying. and manipulating and starting wars and blah, blah, blah. Well, the Democratic Party right now represents the do something dumb, and that's it. You know, it was funny because Harry Sisson ambushed Mike Lindell the other day. And then Natalie Winters, I think it was, and Mike asked him if he got his vasectomy yet. And then he just kind of like buzzed off. I kind of wish we did go to the DNC just to be inside and to do media, because these people will not come on these shows. They won't do it. They're terrified. There's only like 2 people who will do it, and they're just not real liberals. There's like high profile people whose whole shtick is just shock jock content, and they masquerade as liberals. The actual people who are on social media making the liberal arguments and advocating for voting refuse to come on the show. How about that? It was great when Marianne Williamson came on, but they can't hang. They just can't. Now, I'll tell you the funny thing. I challenge any liberal and any Democrat. David Pakman wants to come on. He's got, you know, he runs his own show. So, you know, with respect, Kyle Kalinske hasn't responded. Hit him up a while ago. He said he would. Now he seems really angry and he doesn't want to come on the show. Fine, I guess. But I got to tell you, I guarantee you, the reason why they won't come on the show is because they know they will get eviscerated. There's no question. The people from X, they wanted to go on Rogan. They thought they were going to be able to handle this. But I'm telling you this not because I'm saying like I'm a great debater or anything. It's because I'm not going to debate them. Literally will not. I am not somebody who will try to defend an idea I can't defend. It won't happen. You want to sit in this chair and say Donald Trump saw crime go up, was spending like crazy. I'll be like, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. That's it. And then the problem arises when I counter with basic things like, why was crime going up? Who was doing the crime? Who was mercilessly beating Jews in New York City? Who was beating the Asians when the Stop Asian Hate campaign was going on? Who was in charge of the National Guard in all these cities when the riots were happening? How come no one talks about Donald Trump being forced into a bunker? How come nobody talks about the May 29th insurrection? They don't want to answer any of these questions. What the Democrats and the liberals like is to sit down with a diehard Trump sycophant who will try to defend Trump no matter what, even when the idea makes no sense. And they'll do a whataboutism. And I'll give you an example. Fox News brought on a guy from Occupy Wall Street 10 years ago. And there was a video of a guy taking a dump on a cop car. And Hannity asks this dude, he's like, you guys are crapping on cars, blah, blah, blah. And the dude from Occupy's response was, oh, Sean, you can't do that. No, what we're talking about is blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. And I'll explain to you why Democrats don't want to come on a show like mine. If I were to sit down with Hannity, if during Occupy Wall Street they put me on TV and said, why is this guy taking a crap on the cop car? My response would have been, man, that's awful. That's disgusting. Yeah, you're completely right, Sean. 100% correct. Wow. I mean, what do we do? What do you think we should do? I think we need help from you, Sean, and from older conservatives who might be able to help us get a hold on this so we can really start questioning why these big banks, these corporations are getting away with what they did and the bailouts are happening, and maybe do something about the degeneracy that you are explaining, which I think no one agrees with. It's that simple. You see, conservatives can handle that. You know, 10 years ago or whatever, you want to get a shock jock on Hannity or whatever, that's a different story. But I tell you this right now. Every single conservative, they reach out to us. They want to come on this show. Why? Because they can handle it. And that's the reality right now, that the truth has a right-wing bias these days. Fact. I can bring on any conservative and disagree with them, and they will say, I see what you're saying, but I can understand why you have to understand why I don't think that's correct and you're wrong. And I'll say, yeah, okay, fine. I'll say something like, look, Joe Biden wanted to get rid of ATM fees for poor people. Overdraft fees. I think those are bad things. I don't think we should have these big banks charging poor people for being poor. There's got to be some protections here. And obviously we don't want people intentionally overdrafting, but how about we make it so that you can't overdraft? Conservatives are going to say, yeah, fair point. That's it. And the left can't handle that because they have to isolate their audience, isolate their voters, and hide them away. Because if you exposed these people to the truth, I tell you what's going to happen. Like Marianne Williamson, she will cry. Marianne Williamson was nearly in tears, welling up, covering her face when she saw the whiteness contract. I'll pull that up right now. Whiteness Contract, Not My Idea. That's the book. These are the books we don't want kids reading. You scumbag, Shapiro lying. He's over here lying, saying they don't want your kids to read these books. Whiteness is a bad deal. It always was. Dude, we can see your pointy tail. Here on the right is a white hand with goat feet and a devil's tail and fire. And it says, contract binding you to whiteness. You get stolen land, stolen riches, special favors. Whiteness gets to mess endlessly with the lives of your friends, neighbors, loved ones, and all fellow humans of color and your soul for the purpose of profit. Signed below. And it says, land, riches, and favors may be revoked at any time for any reason. Whiteness. Marianne Williamson said they're trying to ban books. What, this one? You think children should get this book? Overt, abject racism. Telling people to hate their neighbors based on race. Children should be reading that, Josh Shapiro. I'm not even talking about the weird, creepy porn stuff you're trying to give to kids. I'm saying things like this should not be in the curriculum. But they lie to you because they are bad people. Well, again, there are two minds of it, perhaps. This idea that here's actually how they describe it. Mike Bloomberg was on stage in New York and he said, we got to tax the poor. You know, these people, when they spend their money, they buy things that are bad for them, like sugary drinks. And so we should tax them, take their money from them, and buy the things that we know they need. I'm paraphrasing, by the way, but yeah. Mike Bloomberg called for taxing the poor. He thinks poor people are stupid. Many of them are, don't get me wrong. Many of them are stupid. He thinks we should tax them so government can decide what's best for them. The only problem is not all poor people are stupid. And the system that works best is allowing everyone to find their own way. Meritocracy. You may be someone born poor, but you can figure out how to rise above, become successful, and learn. And that's why the American dream still exists. And that's why a meritocratic system is the best. Now, of course, the whinging left will say it doesn't exist. There is no American dream. There's no way poor people can get ahead. And it's because many of them are stupid. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying it to be literal. They're not smart enough to understand complex systems. I actually believe every single human has it within them to be a genius. I really do. But if you take somebody in their most important years, their most formative years, which is between the ages of 0 and 5, and have them as babies sit around doing nothing, which is what many Americans do, the neural pathways don't form. And their ability to expand their mind later in life is diminished. This is scientific fact. Children between the ages of 0 and 5, it's the most important years. This is when you need to be showing them as much as possible, teaching them, training them, all of these things. And that creates an exponential return later on in life, developing the neural pathways in the brain. Unfortunately for us, we have a dead education system. We keep kids out of schools. Not that I'm a fan of public schools, but out of education in general. And kids are put in front of tablets these days. It's a recipe for disaster. And so there are two worldviews. Mike Bloomberg telling you this exemplifies the Democrat worldview. Lie to stupid people and march them like lemmings off the cliff. As Alex Jones said, they will tell you where the bear traps are. And if you're not smart enough to avoid them, it's your own fault. And then there is the other worldview that thinks, let a meritocratic, decentralized system decide. If smart, intelligent, wealthy people want to help the poor, let them do it or not. No one is entitled to anything, but ultimately it leads to, in my opinion, decentralization solves more problems than hypercentralization. I think in the end, what happens with the centralization is that the system collapses, the strong survive, and maybe that's intentional. But I should pause there because, you know, we should get to the next segment, of course, talking about RFK and where we're currently at with him addressing the nation and his supporters. So I'm going to go to your super chats and we'll read what you have to say, but then we'll talk about the RFK thing in a second, and we'll get back into this conversation about, you know, the RFK thing really does fall right into what I was talking about. People are wondering why it is RFK would drop out and endorse Trump and not the Democrats. And it's because RFK recognized the Democrats are a psychotic death cult. And I'm not being cute when I say this. The vasectomies and the abortions thing, they are absolutely destroying themselves. But let's read your super chats and see what you guys have to add to the conversation, of course. And then we'll jump to the next segment. Clank, clank, I'm a tank. Says, first, isn't Oprah a childless cat lady? When will she do something for Lahaina residents? Oh, probably never. She's rich. She earned it. James Carter says the Dems yelling is that Kamala is black is like the master in Roots calling Kunta Toby. Tell Stephen Van Jones and Faquisha to go home. It was really funny when I think it was Keith Olbermann said Trump is a real Kunta Kinte or whatever it was. And everyone's like, are you literally using the name of this like slave character as a way to insult Donald Trump? Yeah, because they're racist, you know? Unit says Trump should approach Biden about a deal that screws Kamala and the party over. Nobody F's the Biden. Joe's R. Biden. I love this idea. I wish that Biden, in all of his resentment, comes out and endorses Donald Trump and says the party betrayed me. They lied to me. They lied to you. They used me and cast me aside. Vote Trump. That would be amazing. Today, of course, it's yerba mate. This is the low sugar berry lemonade. I love yerba. Oh, yeah, there you go. Carson Everett says about the camo hat last night. Of course they think they're making inroads to the South. The same people think if you put on a dress and makeup, you are a woman. Many thanks from Southeast Alabama. That's a good point. Good point, sir. Ella Emhoff puts on the camo hat and she's like, no, I'm a Southerner. And like, that's how it works. When you put on the clothes, it makes you the thing. There you go. James Carter says J.D. Vance and Walz are like Red and Bob in that 70s show. Red and Vance were in or near combat. Bob and Walz were weekend soldiers. CJ. Yep. That is funny. Evodio says, has anyone noticed the advocacy for pro-life messages? Are they dwelled in the GOP convention? What do you mean? They are trying to stay away from it because women really want to abort their kids. They want to get them. They're going to get those babies and they're going to rip them out. I'm not a staunch pro-lifer, but the Democrats, oh boy, women just love abortions. It's the weirdest thing to me. I don't know, man. It's just weird. Like women want to do it with dudes unprotected. And then if they don't want to have a baby, I think that's just weird. That's a very strange thing. Like, how many abortions are they really getting? They're kind of crazy. It's a lot of abortions. I think it's weird. See, this is the thing. The reason why I'm, not a staunch pro-lifer is that I agree with Ron Paul's view that it shouldn't be illegal. It should be unthinkable. Our culture is sick. And I don't think just clearly the legal strategy, the policy strategy isn't working. Because Republicans are getting scared about the abortion messaging. So I don't know to tell you, I think Ron Paul's right about it. We need a cultural reformation that just basically says abortion is not good and no one should do it. Only in the rarest of circumstances, with the harshest of realities, should it be considered. But I do believe it should be available. I'm not someone who thinks it should be banned. I just think the problem is we have overwhelmingly abortion as contraception, which is disgusting. That's nasty, man. These women go and they hook up and they're like, well, now I'll just go kill it. And it's like, dude, this is you consented to this. So my view is that if a man and a woman have a consensual relationship that results in a pregnancy, that woman consented to sharing her body with another life form. Just like with if you consent to allow someone to move in, you can't just kick them out. There's like tenant protections. I know it's a kind of a stupid analogy, but my point is all these women want unfettered abortion at any point when they agreed to offer up their bodies to life. I just think that's wrong to kill the life because they changed their mind at the last minute. That's wrong. But it is what it is. Anonymous Horse says Alex has a daughter. He does? Really? Oh, I was way wrong then. Apologies, Alex Stein. I did not know that. Okay, he is a cat man. That's it. He's a regular cat man. There you go. Sorthweast says, I know this news was broken by a VTuber, but you should look into Bridge when you get a chance. The DEI people and big corporations are not retreating. They're regrouping. Interesting. Let's grab a couple more before we jump into this RFK Jr. news. Fell says, I've started to play DDR again. Excellent cardio. Oh, yeah. Also ordered my second bag of coffee. I got Ian's this time. Excellent. Let me know how it is. Dance Dance Revolution. Always a fun game. I loved that one. Remember that back in the day? That's great. Where are we at? For the popcorn says, I'd work out a lot, but my body hurts too much because of the weight. I literally need surgery to lose weight, but I'm poor. There are some circumstances that don't mean I'm lazy. Well, certainly some people have thyroid issues, and these things certainly do exist. So I'm not a doctor. You talk to your doctor and figure it out. But I can tell you that there are a lot of people who have lost a lot of weight, and you can do it through diet. Diet is a place to begin. And for me, let me tell you, I was at 200 pounds and I was exercising maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and like fairly decent exercise, I was skating, but I was eating garbage. I was eating hibachi, big thing of rice and a big thing of chicken and steak. And I was like, rice is good. I need the energy, And then after I got COVID, I said, you know what? I didn't eat. I had been like a full day after COVID where I didn't eat any sugar. And then I was like, why start? And so I didn't. And then just weight melted right off. It was crazy. Like in the first 2 months, I think like 20 pounds gone. And then over the next few months, it was another 10 pounds. And I was exercising the same. And so it's funny because I see all these people being like, you need, just diet and exercise. And I'm like, it is both. However, when I started back on carbs, because, the trainer gives me this app and he's like, do this app. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. Felt good a little bit. The bread got me really sick. And so I cut out gluten immediately. Like it was bad. I don't know. Maybe like not eating gluten for a couple years made it so I couldn't or something. I have no idea, but I it was painful, joint inflammation. And so, but I'll tell you this, after like a month, we checked the macro tracker and I'm tracking all my macros, doing everything. And I had not been losing body fat. I gained some weight, probably muscle, upper body, but body fat percentage was like 0.1% higher. And we were like, my trainer was like, that's weird. Maybe we should reduce your carbs. I don't know. That's strange. Like the formula should have you losing weight, especially because I was burning an additional 2,000 calories a day from skating, like intense skating the mini ramp VO2 max for an hour, 4 times a week. And I was actually told by another trainer, like, that's a lot of VO2 max. Like you got to chill. You're going to like exert yourself. Weight wasn't coming off. And so I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know that diet works for me. I just don't. I think everybody's different. And so I'm following this formula, one working. And the funny thing is, I hear this all the time. Even the Daily Wire guys are saying it, like calories in, calories out. I was like, dude, I don't know what to tell you, man. When I skated yesterday, skated for 2 hours. In those 2 hours, 1,394 calories burned. I have it on my little watch. I track every day. 1,000, and it was like 20 something minutes of VO2 max, which is maximum heart rate. I think it was like 185 or something. And then a large portion in the orange zone. And I'm like, I'm burning these calories. You know what I mean? Now that I'm doing keto, now I'm seeing the body fat percentage go down. So, hey man, I don't tell you. All I can say is I see these posts where they're like, calories in, calories out is all that matters. And I'm like, nah, didn't work for me. Like, just, I don't know what to tell you. Eating healthy, having olive oil, eggs, avocados, reducing a lot of animal fats, but increasing a lot of olive oil and avocado as recommended for the good fats. And this diet has actually started to have a huge impact on me. When I was eating carbs, we had this healthy regimen set up. A little bit of oatmeal, a little bit of rice flour, measured throughout the day. I couldn't stand the ups and downs. I would eat and then I'd crash and then I would eat and then I would crash. And I'm just like, this sucks. Now I switch back to keto and it's just like I feel like I have energy 24/7 nonstop no matter what. That's just me. I don't know. Pyropism says, ask your doctor today if Timcast IRL is right for you. I've been taking Timcast IRL for 5 years now. I've gained 40 chickens and lost 130 pounds. I'm saying those are great metrics. The chickens. Great metrics. All right, we'll grab a couple more. Here's a good point. Let's wait, it just jumped. YouTube does this with super chats. It loads them all at once. And so let's see, where is it? It was a good one. It's gone. Oh, here we go. Ronan Butto says, so I can bring into a school a book on how to make a gun? Can't ban books. That's a great point. Ask the Democrats if you can bring in books on how to use and make guns and see what they say. And they're going to lose their minds and they're going to ban books. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. All right, let's just grab another super chat right here. Adam Smith says 1 week on keto, down 9 pounds, have a ton of energy, only needing 5 to 6 hours of sleep at night. Mind is less foggy, definitely worth it. So talk to a doctor, definitely. Don't, I'm not telling you what you should or shouldn't be doing. I would say definitely talk to a doctor. And there's a lot of things to say about keto. You'll lose a lot of water weight right away. So if you lose 9 pounds in a week, that's probably water. You need to hydrate. So you should be drinking electrolyte drinks. But again, talk to a doctor. What I've done is I've got more electrolyte drinks. We got the Numas. I am drinking a lot more water. I'm trying to make sure there's not too much salt, because a lot of these, the foods you get that salty, leafy greens, eggs, really great stuff. And, the real issue is get a scale that tracks body fat percentage and not body and shows you water as well, because you'll lose a lot of weight in water weight. You want to make sure you're not dropping weight too quickly. Yeah. Tacti Plady says no abortions in Star Trek. Checkmate, baby killers. Woo. Well, let's talk about RFK Jr. Here we go. From the Daily Mail, RFK Jr. to address the nation about dropping out of the 2024 race in the same city as another presidential candidate. Dude, stop it with the clickbait. I do want to say it's funny when people are like, Tim's making clickbait headlines because he says something like Donald Trump faces prison time or whatever. And I'm like, that's telling you literally what the news is. They're saying Trump's going to go to prison on September 18th or he's going to be sentenced. That's not clickbait. Clickbait is when you would say, Democrats will do this to Donald Trump, sparking outrage. And it's when the headline doesn't give you any information and baits you into clicking on it. That's what rage bait. Now that's something different. Rage bait is when the headline is shocking and makes you angry to get you to click on it. But here's the news. And the update here as to the story of RFK Jr. is why he's endorsing the Republican over the Democrat. Democrats are pissed about this. Let me show you this. David Corn. He says if RFK Jr. endorses, I don't know, David Corn is a DC bureau chief, Mother Jones, MSNBC. He says, if RFK Jr. endorses Trump, it will demonstrate he doesn't care anything about climate change, clean air and water, women's freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. Just one disingenuous conspiracy theory monger joining forces with another, a sad ending to a once noble brand. It's a cult. Maybe if everywhere you go, you smell crap, you check your boot. RFK Jr. being like, you guys are awful and I'm going to endorse Trump says more about you than it does about Trump. It says more about this country. Moderates are voting for Donald Trump. 2-1, probably. We'll see. This is why I get very offended when these Trump lunatics are like, I've been with Trump since day one and anyone who hasn't, get out. You want to lose? Fine. I don't care. I'd love to see you writhe in agony. These people, look, when remember the woman who dropped to her knees and went, no, because Donald Trump won? I am sustained by your suffering. Like these cringe individuals, these nasty cult people getting comeuppance feels so good. But these Trump diehards, I don't view any differently. If you're literally going to attack people who disagree with you and demand they join your cult, I would love to see you drop to your knees and scream no all the same. That being said, truth is on your side, so you get this one pass. Trump's got his creepy weirdo fans. He does, but most of the people that are voting for Donald Trump and the most prominent supporters of Trump are not the creepy weirdos. So thank heavens, but there are a decent amount. On the Democrat side, they're all weird, creepy cultists. There's not a single supporter of the Democrats who's a rational, calm person, because you can't be. That's why RFK Jr. is intending to endorse Donald Trump. Now, hey, man, don't count your chickens before they hatch. It would be funny if RFK Jr. gets up on stage and he's like, I'm here to let you guys know that I will be dropping out of this race and endorsing Kamala Harris. Screw all of you Trump supporters. I mean, that would be pretty wild, right? Probably not going to happen. The reality is everybody expects RFK to endorse Trump for a variety of reasons. Will Chamberlain lays it out. He says RFK, like most of us, has realized that the Democrat Party is structurally psychopathic and the importance of keeping them out of power trumps longer-term concerns. What can I say, man? They lie on stage. They got a vasectomy bust, dude. I don't see Harry Sisson lining up for his vasectomy. But doesn't he support the party? Come on. Don't you live in this world? Isn't this your ideology? Now, I know, I get it. The argument he'd make is it's a choice. And if somebody doesn't want to have kids, they can choose to do so. I'm fine with that. 100%. I am actually glad that the Democrats pulled up a vasectomy bus. So good. You know, Democrats can then choose to get the snip, not have babies, and then we don't got to worry about them in the future. You know what I'm saying? RFK Jr. understands the corruption, the psychopathic ideology and behaviors. Look at what this David Corn guy says. Women's freedom. Dude, none of these things mean anything. You're just a psychopathic, evil cultist. Women's freedom. Okay, let's play the game. Climate change. You talking about like Barack Obama, who's got waterfront property on Martha's Vineyard? I don't see these Democrats running from the shores. They're buying beachfront property. So I'm supposed to believe them? Dude, look, I can tell you right now. I go outside at night. I don't see a single lightning bug. When I was a kid, granted, I didn't grow up in Appalachia. In Chicago, everywhere by the thousands. And so I wondered about this. Looked it up. Yeah, lightning bug populations are collapsing. Bee populations are collapsing. Windshield phenomenon. It's scary. Insects are very important. They're bird food. And so there's bad things happening with human pollution. I want to believe that we can get a handle on this properly and figure out what's going on. And I do think humans play a serious role in all of this. There's a lot of them. We produce a lot of garbage. Has a big impact. The only problem is, you think I'm going to condemn RFK Jr. when y'all are buying beachfront properties, claiming the water is going to rise? Liars. Maybe if they came out and said something like, insect populations have a noticeable decline, and that's very bad for the food chain, which we rely on. Pollination is, we rely on bees and butterflies and many other insects. In fact, beetles pollinate to a certain degree. Beetles and flies can as well. And this is very important that we get a handle on why these insect populations are collapsing. If they said stuff like that, I'd be like, here, like, you know, what do you think? Instead, they're saying, we have only 3 years until the world ends. And then Greta Thunberg deletes the tweet. Because they're lying. Okay? You want to get a handle on pollution, fine. But the problem is they don't want to go against their big lobbyist donors, so they just pretend. Clean air and water. What are you talking about, clean air and water? You're not talking about anything. You're literally talking about nothing. What policy are you talking about? Women's freedom. To get an abortion, but certainly not when it comes to vaccines or anything like that. Certainly not when it comes to playing sports. Bye. Democracy, nonsense statement, and the rule of law. Y'all charge Donald Trump with fake felonies listed as another crime. That's what they put in the charging documents. Another crime. Okay, well, if you had something to charge him on, maybe I'd consider you actually care about the rule of law, but you don't. RFK Jr. understands this. Maybe. I mean, for all we know, whatever he does in Phoenix is not to help Trump. No idea. But it does seem like that will be the case. Independent presidential candidate RFK Jr. will address the nation Friday about his path forward in the 2024 race. He'll speak in Phoenix, Arizona, one day after the DNC wraps up in Chicago. Also in Phoenix that day, former President Trump, who's Kennedy's running mate, Nicole Shanahan, said the Independent is thinking about endorsing. Trump has been courting a Kennedy endorsement for weeks, and the two spoke by phone in the aftermath of the assassination attempt on the ex-president. On the flip side, the Democrats have scorned Kennedy, who had previously been one of their own. They blocked him from running because they wanted to bring on Kamala Harris. They tried to burn him to the ground. They've sued him every step of the way. They've blocked him from appearing on ballots because they're evil. Trump did nothing. There's a lot of people who think that RFK pulls from Trump. And the RNC did not try to block RFK. They just insulted him. That is kind of funny. Trump called him crazy and all that stuff. When Kennedy tried to touch base with the Democratic nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign, attempting to barter a cabinet gig for an endorsement, a DNC spokesperson publicly said no thanks. Now, I think RFK has denied those reports, saying it's not true. No one has any intention of negotiating with a MAGA-funded fringe candidate who has sought out a job with Donald Trump in exchange for an endorsement. Shannon appeared on an episode of Tim Bilyeu's Impact Theory Tuesday and said she and RFK Jr. have two options. They could stay in the race and hope to get 5% of the vote to officially start a new political party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Walz presidency. because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump. Or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump. And, we walk away from that and we explain to our base why we're making this decision. Not an easy decision. I would like to ask Joe Rogan what he thinks about this. Joe Rogan said RFK Jr. is the only one to make sense. If RFK Jr. endorses Trump, will Rogan come out and say, yeah, Trump? I wonder what Joe thinks about Kamala. Joe has said in the past that he would vote for Trump over Joe Biden. So this will be interesting. Now, my friends, when we jump over to the national polls, we can see Kennedy is polling in aggregate at 4.7, according to 538. The latest polls are showing Kennedy with around 3%, according to YouGov. And then we have Big Village with him at 5. And another Big Village has him at 6. They have a bunch of different polls. CBS has him at 2. I think it's clear to RFK. The press is waning. His candidacy is not getting the attention that he needs. He needed to hit over 10% to maintain this. Maybe it's time to bow out. I respect it. When we take a look over at the top battlegrounds RCP average, we can see that Trump is maintaining that lead at 0.2%, which is big. And it stayed that way as of August 22nd. Trump is maintaining that lead. Now, here's the best part. As of just today, the betting odds for Donald Trump are now once again higher than Kamala Harris. They say the honeymoon is over. Honeymoon's over. The question will be, however, how will an RFK Jr. endorsement actually help Trump? Well, I can say one thing. There are people who don't like Trump or Kamala, but do like RFK Jr. And RFK has said, this is not the party of my uncle or my dad. Many of these people will go for Trump, in which case I think he's going to see a big boost among independents and moderates. What does it really mean, though? Well, we do have this from ABC News, about a minute and a half long, where they try to give us a breakdown of what it means. Let's hear their assessment.
Our Washington Bureau Chief Political Director Rick Klein. Rick, RFK Jr.'s poll numbers had been dropping. Hard to gauge what impact his getting out, maybe even endorsing Donald Trump, will have.
Yeah, George, I mean, the battleground states look a lot different than they did a few short weeks ago when Donald Trump was leading everywhere. Right now, Kamala Harris is actually up in 6 of the 7 big battleground states, including the Midwestern states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Tim Walz, of course, from Wisconsin, and we are right now in the state of Illinois. But to your point about the national polling, when Robert F. Kennedy was added into the mix in our latest poll, he was polling at just 5%. As John Carl said, he was well into the double digits earlier in the summer. Harris with a 3-point lead with the 3 of them in the race. But when you take him out of the mix, it is not at all clear where his voters necessarily go. When you took that away as an option in our latest poll, you see the largest share of voters actually then went to Kamala Harris. But the biggest number on this screen is 34% that say they would support someone else if Kennedy is out of the mix. Some of them are holding out for Kennedy. So if Kennedy is now telling his supporters to vote for Donald Trump, you might see the lion's share of them go to Donald Trump. Kennedy has had better popularity and favorability numbers among Republicans than among Democrats, and a lot of his views more closely align with Donald Trump. The bottom line, George, is we may see a tight race get even tighter as a result of this.
Okay, Rick, thanks.
The interesting thing there
is covering the Democratic National Convention in Chicago.
I don't trust their polls. I don't trust their assessment. This is Ipsos Washington Post, a single poll. They say that according to 538, that let's jump back. Here we go. Battleground states polling average shows that Harris is up in all of these battlegrounds. Real Clear Politics, however, does not show those metrics, and they choose different polls to appear. What I do find interesting is, who are people going to vote for? The argument is, we had one member call in, one of the Timcast.com members, become a member at Timcast.com, called in the show and says RFK should not drop out. He pulls from Harris more than Trump. And so there's a lot of Democrats that don't want to vote for Kamala Harris who will vote for RFK, even if he can't win. Trump supporters, less likely. And here's the data. Harris, 32%, Trump, 18%. If RFK drops out and endorses Trump, and his voters say, no way, I'm a Democrat, Bobby, you lost me, and they support Harris, Harris gets a bump. RFK dropping out may not be good for Donald Trump. Now, ultimately, though, I do think we don't know for sure. The someone else or wouldn't vote numbers matter a lot here. 18% say they'd vote for Trump. But if RFK says, guys, please, I'm going to drop out and endorse Donald Trump, and I will work in his administration, the real RFK Jr. supporters, they vote Trump. The question for RFK Jr.'s supporters is, are they just voting for him because they don't like Kamala Harris or Joe Biden? The date on this matters the most, August 9th through 13th. So this is, well after Biden. These are people who'd say they'd vote for Harris instead. I wonder if they actually don't care for RFK Jr. They're actually just more anti-Kamala Harris, don't like the Democratic Party, but would rather have a Democrat than Donald Trump. I don't know if I believe it. I don't believe it because they'd basically be saying, I hate Trump so much, I'm going to vote in such a way that it benefits him. That makes no sense. If these people really were considering voting for Kamala Harris, if RFK Jr. drops out, then they're trying to hurt Donald Trump, right? For what reason? It would imply that they're just really dumb, I guess. I don't know. Let me put it this way. Right now, the question is, why are they voting for RFK Jr.? Because they support him? Well, if that's the case, when he drops out and endorses Trump, they'll say, okay, a Trump administration gets us RFK Jr. in a cabinet position. I'll take it. That would be fantastic. The best way to get a cabinet position, RFK Jr., was to run against him and then lend your 5%. If there are people who are just voting for him because they don't like Kamala, but they would rather have Kamala over Trump, that makes no sense because voting for RFK Jr. just helps Trump. It just doesn't make any sense. I think the endorsement will greatly benefit Donald Trump, and I believe it is the appropriate and correct move. I don't trust the polls. I would say this. I don't trust 538. You take a look at Real Clear Politics, and they'll show you right away how they generate their aggregates and what polls they allow. And 538 excludes certain pollsters. Why would you do that? Over at Real Clear Politics in the general election, we can see that Kamala Harris is up 1.5 points. Rasmussen, however, has Trump up 4 points. Fox News has Trump up 1, and CNBC has Trump up 2. Everybody else, Pew Research, Emerson, ABC, and the latest CBS has Harris up. I don't know. I think it's all garbled nonsense. I think the data that we're getting is garbled nonsense, and we have no idea what to expect. With that in mind, the only thing that I think makes sense is RFK Jr. dropping out and endorsing Trump. That's tangible. That is a prominent third-party candidate saying, guys, vote for Trump and I'll be there. So his supporters will do it. Now, some people think RFK is too crazy. Look, man, I want to win. Okay? Winning means sometimes you align yourself with people you don't like. The United States, the Western, the Allies teamed up with the Soviet Union, with communists to stop the Nazis, and led to a lot of problems afterwards, the Cold War. But sometimes you compromise. You do. Right now, we have a crackpot, cultist Democrat Party. As Will Chamberlain accurately points out, as I stated earlier, they have become structurally psychopathic. They offer up nothing. They want weird porn books for kids in schools. They're overtly racist and sexist, putting men and women in sports. They can't win. We can't allow it. And so RFK Jr. may have some wackaloon lefty ideas. Let's restructure this country. How about this? When RFK Jr. joins the Trump administration, and Tulsi Gabbard does as well, and everyone goes, you got these lefties, fine. The next election we have in 2028 will be RFK versus Trump. That's it. How would that feel? Imagine if the actual political debate in this country was both the Democratic candidate and the Republican saying, no one wants these books in schools. We won't allow it. We'd all be like, that's good. Nobody wants unfettered abortion to the point of birth. That's gone. We'd say, oh, okay, we're getting somewhere. And then they were like, now, as for tax policy, I'd be like, yes. Take me home, country roads. Bring us back to the time when we're arguing over whether we're going to tax one thing or tax another thing or cut one tax or not another tax. Make the arguments simple. Nobody wants war. Nobody wants unfettered abortion. Nobody wants these kids. If that was the debate, I think we're good. I can go and ride off my van into the sunset and park it down by the river. But right now what we're dealing with is a Democratic Party that is figuratively or maybe even literally demonic. I mean, the putting the weird porn in schools is terrifying. Abuse. It's enticing a minor. This stuff's illegal. But they've stopped enforcing the law. You've got these drag shows that bring children on, and they have adult men handing dollar bills to children. How about this? Someone like RFK Jr. can call Columbus Day Indigenous Peoples Day, and that can be the argument, but everybody agrees you keep the kids out of it, and that restructures and recenters where the country's middle ground is. There's that meme posted by Elon Musk. It was made by Colin Wright, where it shows the left and the right, but then as the left moves further and further, the person who's on the left eventually finds themselves in the middle and then on the right themselves. How about we pull that whole thing back and we restore an actual left-right balance in this country? The truth is, my friends, this country actually is conservative by today's standards, period. And the media lies to prop up woke, garbled nonsense. Money talks and BS walks. They canceled The Acolyte because of it. Lesbian Space Witches does not sell movie tickets. They try, and it does not work. And the franchise is burned to the ground. You know, I want to tell you this. They say, get woke, go broke. And these lefties are like, that's not true. That's not true. And I just say to them, guys, have you looked at the billion-dollar Disney losses as they've tried to play this game? I mean, the MCU is burning down, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What did it start with? Iron Man, the Hulk, but, you know, whatever. Then you get Captain America and Thor, and it's white dude, white dude, white dude, white dude. I'm not saying movies should always just be white dudes, okay? That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying they start off with this hero's journey. The Hulk we can pull out. The big three were Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. People didn't like the Thor movies as much, but they made a lot of money. Guardians of the Galaxy, what was the diversity there? A white guy, a tree, a raccoon, and a green lady? Come on. These movies were good. When they started shifting the focus and doing the weird woke stuff, Black Panther, I liked Black Panther, but they called it diverse. This is where things started to break down. Captain Marvel, total breakdown. The Captain Marvel movies have been abysmal. They've been abominations. They've lost money. This country does not want these things. The machine needs to stop. We need to stop it. How do we do it? RFK represents many on the left side who don't like Donald Trump, the liberal side, but it recenters the argument. It gets rid of a lot of that far left garbled trash. I'm for it. So we'll see. I mean, tomorrow's the big day. Someone jokingly said, what if Trump drops out to endorse RFK? It's like, haha, yeah, that'd be funny. They're both in Phoenix. I think it's very obvious what's about to happen. Trump's going to give RFK Jr. a cabinet position. I think it's fantastic. And we are going to get a great new administration under Donald Trump's second term. I'm going to wrap it up there. Smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Become a member at Timcast.com to support our work. Thanks for hanging out. Next segment will be at 4 p.m. and we'll see you all then. In the meantime, of course, we have your super chats, and the next segment lined up for all of you is non-citizen voter registration. My friends, there is something strange afoot. The polls in Texas, they're tightening. We saw the numbers of the weird Social Security number registrations earlier this year, and now fears that non-citizens are getting registered to vote. I bet it is. And I said, Texas flips. And everyone goes, we never saw this coming. How could the polls have been so wrong? And then how could Trump possibly win without Texas? What is it, 40 electoral votes or whatever? Let me pull up 270 to win as we get into this one. 40 votes. Texas is 40 electoral votes. But we'll talk about it. But first, we'll grab a couple of your super chats. The trooper says, Bernie Sanders' voice. I am once again asking for you to have Terrence Pop on your show. I think he would make a great guest. Retired Green Beret, pretty knowledgeable about the modern climate. Why is Bernie Sanders saying that? Apex Predator says you should have Ronnie Radke from Falling in Reverse on the Culture War. He's a great musician and has an interesting life story. Though not overtly political, he is constantly pushing back on wokeism. I think once Phil wraps up the tour, we should. It would be cool to have Phil and Ronnie Radke, of course, on the Culture War, discussing the music industry and the culture around it. Would be really cool. All right, MF Damien says I've helped a lot of people change their bodies. If weight loss is the goal rather than muscle development, exercise helps, but 80% of the results are earned in the kitchen, not the gym. There's an old saying. It is easier to not eat the 100 calories than it is to burn it off. And he's correct. It is the kitchen, not the gym. Brogan says, Tim, I thought of a word that sounds insulting but isn't. Just call Democrats for what they are. Drats. D-rats. D-rats. And all we are doing is calling them Democrats. Drat. D-rats. Voice of the People says, Cornell law, whoever owing allegiance to the United States levies war against them or gives aid and comfort to the enemies of the U.S. In its borders or elsewhere is guilty of treason. Scary, man. Scary times indeed. Bass Players, as a reminder, Disney bought Marvel specifically to bring in a young male audience. Well, they are burning Marvel to the ground. Let's see. San Yuji says it was announced Trump sentencing postponed until after the election. Whoa, breaking news. Really? They were asking for that. When was this? Bragg concedes Trump's appellate rights on immunity, signaling postponement of sentencing. Here we go. Prosecutors defer to judge. That was 3 days ago. Where are you seeing that? I do not see this news being reported. Let me try again. 2 hours ago, 3 days ago. Is it on X? Maybe, news breaks. They don't even get it up. Let's see what we've got. Trump sentencing. Let's see if we can get this breaking news somewhere. Let's see. No, that's from 3 days ago. I don't see that. I don't see this anywhere. Yeah, nowhere. Where did you see this? Bragg admits wisdom of delaying Trump sentencing due to immunity concerns. I do not see this anywhere. I don't know, man. I don't know. Can't find that. That would be big news, but I don't see that anywhere. Mr. Washesp says, you going to mention the new Wolverine Deadpool movie made $1 billion with a $200 million budget? Who were the lead actors in that movie? It was Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, two white guys. And they made fun of wokeness. I am not saying the leads need to be white. Not at all. I'm saying that when they just go back to the roots and they can, like Heimdall in the Thor movies was played by Idris Elba. Ain't nobody complaining there. Thor was one of the big movies. Deadpool and Wolverine have this scene. I thought it was a great movie, by the way. I thought it was really hilarious. Where the evil woman, whatever her name is, comes in a wheelchair, and you think it's going to be Professor X, and then it's not. It's his multiversal alternate twin sister. And she stands up, and Deadpool goes, "Oh, ableism. Ooh, the woke are not going to like this," or something like this. And that was like only the real jab, but it was funny. And they made fun of it, and they cussed, and it was gross and brutal. And what did they do? A lot of fan service. They brought back Pyro. They brought back Johnny Storm. Dude, it was absolutely hilarious. I loved that movie. I thought it was great. I loved it. Chris Evans is in it, and spoiler alert, it's already become a meme. So if you don't know this, but Chris Evans is in it, and they go to the end of time or whatever it is. Long story. Anyway, and it's where all the multiversal variants are rejected and sent to keep them out of the timeline. And Chris Evans is there. Bad guys show up. And then he's like, stand back. He jumps down. And then Deadpool's like, oh, you're not going to like what he says next. Avengers Assemble. And then Chris Evans goes, flame on. And he's Johnny Storm from the 2000s. I thought that was hilarious. Okay. They deserved all of my money. All right. Bam says, I support commie vasectomies can fit nicely on a t-shirt. Yeah. Yep. GG Son says, Tom McDonald on culture war as well. That would be epic. He was outside of the country, though. It's hard to get people who are busy and successful to fly around to do these shows. You know what I mean? Adam Ducarm says, Tim, never miss an episode of Timcast or IRL. The last couple of weeks, no matter how much I reload, your show will not appear on YouTube homepage. I have to search it up. Indeed. Indeed, they seek to restrain and hold us back. So it's called the Tiny Room Shadow Ban. And what they've done is They make it so that only a small portion of people who are on YouTube will actually get the show, so that it's hard for the show to expand. A tiny room shadow ban. So that's why I've been running a commercial for Timcast IRL and just for Timcast IRL. And it costs money. It does. So we've added to our marketing budget. It has been extremely effective, though, and I'm glad to see it working. I'll probably run a commercial for this channel as well. Maybe I'll even do it right after this. And as we're doing the new morning show, maybe it'll work out or whatever, but it's what you got to do. When I first launched the ad, YouTube tried everything in their power to stop it from happening. They banned the ad. 3 of them, they said, no, you're not allowed to do this ad. Then they banned the episodes that were featured in the ad, and I didn't stop. I just kept saying, like, dude, I am not breaking the rules. And this is the thing about the illegal monopoly, man. Finally, we got one of the ads to work. They relented. It's nuts, dude. Because they know that me making an ad saying, hey, watch Timcast IRL breaks the shadow ban. Now the video is appearing for a ton of other people, and they can't do anything about it without creating a paper trail. So they're pissed. It's been rather successful to the point where the first budget was so successful that the automated system was like, this ad is working really, really well, spend more. So I said, go for it. And then instantly, it's kind of crazy. Maybe, maybe what I can do is I might do like a huge budget ad push, maybe just for 1 month on this channel. I mean, the election is coming up, so now is the time to do it. And then, maybe that's the play. Maybe that's the play. All right, let's jump to this story from KXAN. We got this one from KXAN. I'm not sure which affiliate this is. Texas Attorney General investigating possible non-citizen voter registration. This is huge news because many people are wondering what the shadow campaign is going to be. This is an NBC affiliate, by the way. We can see that right there. So Attorney General Ken Paxton says he's launching an investigation into reports that organizations in Texas are illegally registering non-citizens to vote. We knew it. We knew it because we have something called the Help America Vote Verification System, which for some reason throughout the year has shown large numbers of voter registrations in Texas coming back without matches. Very strange. 48,594 registration attempts as of August 17th for a 2-week period. These individuals did not have IDs. How are they registering to vote without an ID? Strange, isn't it? It's a very large number. We can see that here, total non-matches, 8,951. So let me slow down. They've now begun this investigation, but we've been warning about this since March, so maybe too little too late. Help America Vote Verification is the Social Security Administration's government website. It tracks when an individual registers to vote but doesn't have an ID. They attach the last 4 of the Social Security number, name, and birthday, and ask the Social Security Administration to verify that the numbers match. If they do, this person is in the SSA database. They say, okay, you can vote. However, there are non-citizens who have Social Security numbers because they get work permits. So they will get registered. When you ask yourself, why is there a large influx of people in Texas to the tens of thousands every week, weekly, don't have an ID and they're trying to vote? Where are those numbers coming from? It makes no sense, does it? The theory is these are illegal immigrants who don't have IDs because they wouldn't, and they're being registered to vote automatically. Or there are organizations illegally doing it. Ken Paxton says, let me just read the letter. The Ken Paxton immediate press release. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has opened an investigation into reports that organizations operating in Texas may be unlawfully registering non-citizens to vote in violation of state and federal law. Investigators from the Texas Attorney General's Election Integrity Unit recently conducted undercover operations to identify potential voter registration of non-citizens in Texas. The investigation has already confirmed that various nonprofit organizations have been located outside Texas Department of Public Safety driver's license offices, operating booths, offering to assist in voter registration for persons doing business at the driver's license offices. But all citizens have already been presented an opportunity to register to vote as part of the process of renewing or being issued an identification card or driver's license. So there is no obvious need to assist citizens to register to vote outside DPS offices, calling into question the motives of the nonprofit groups. Quote, Texans are deeply troubled by the possibility that organizations purporting to assist with voter registration are illegally registering non-citizens to vote in our elections. If eligible citizens can legally register to vote when conducting their business at a DPS office, why would they need a second opportunity to register with a booth outside? My office is investigating every credible report we receive regarding potential criminal activity that could compromise the integrity of our elections. The Biden-Harris administration has intentionally flooded our country with illegal aliens. And without proper safeguards, foreign nationals can illegally influence elections at the local, state, and national level. It is a crime to vote or to register to vote if you are not a U.S. citizen. Any wrongdoing will be punished to the fullest extent of the law. It is a crime in Texas to lie about your citizenship when you register to vote or to help someone else to do so. You can be sentenced up to 180 days in a state jail and pay up to a $10,000 fine. It is a crime to vote in Texas if you are not a U.S. citizen and a Texas resident, or to help someone vote who is not. You can be sentenced up to 20 years in prison and pay up to a $10,000 fine. The undercover operations have been conducted throughout major metropolitan areas of Texas and are ongoing. So what do you think? I think this. You take a look at the latest poll, Harris-Trump, and Trump is up only 5 points. Democrats have been cheering. They've been saying, have you seen the news? Texas is becoming competitive. Called it. I called it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a long time ago. I was talking about this several months ago. I said, Texas is already very narrow. We saw, with the Beto O'Rourke's races, it's close. It really is. Now, Republicans still have the lead. Texas is presumed red. A lot of people have moved there who are more conservative leaning. They fled places like New York. But so if people fled California, some of these people may be Democrat. Doesn't matter. The prediction was closer to the election, the polls would tighten up in Texas and they'd say, maybe Texas could be in play. And then Texas goes blue. Trump can't win. Trump would have to win Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada if he loses Texas. How does he lose Texas? An upstart. The polling was wrong. We weren't tracking for all the California transplants who moved to Texas and changed the vote of the state. Wow. Missouri's a possibility as well. Even if Trump wins Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, every battleground, if Missouri and Texas flip because of the weird numbers that we've seen in HAVV, Trump can't win. He can win every battleground, but the reality is he's not going to win Wisconsin and he might win Michigan. But if Trump doesn't win those, it's 301 Kamala Harris. Will Texas actually go blue? That's the question. I think people, they haven't been paying attention. The Republicans, I mean. I think the viewers of this show and Timcast IRL and people who pay attention on X certainly understand the threat of illegal immigrants voting. In Arizona, there's a big case right now where they want to require proof of citizenship to vote. And Democrats are fighting it. Why? It makes no sense. Democrats go, it's illegal to vote if you're not a citizen anyway. Yeah, it's illegal to shoot people. It still happens. So we pass the law and say, don't do it. No, we don't need that. We don't need proof of citizenship. Why? If non-citizens aren't voting, who cares? Seriously, there's no argument. There's literally no argument. Democrats say it's illegal to vote if you're not a citizen. It doesn't happen. Okay, then you wouldn't mind if we made it a requirement to prove you're a citizen. No, because that's racist. Oh, that's not an argument. Anybody who's a citizen of this country can easily produce an ID or something. They're just trying to make it so that they can. I mean, here's the thing. Ballot harvesting. That's what they want. I got to tell you, man, here's the harsh reality. Let's say in Nevada, John Smith votes for Kamala Harris. Social Security number ending 1234, birthday January 1st. In Texas, John Smith, Social Security number ending 1234, birthday January 1st, votes for Kamala Harris. Do you think Nevada and Texas will share their voter rolls to see who voted and compare if the same Social Security number and name voted? They won't. Matt Braynard did the investigation in 2020 and found between California and Arizona, many people voted in both states. Yeah. Because each state isn't going to call up every other state to compare their numbers and names. They just don't. So how would you actually investigate or stop something like that? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think anyone else does either. Someone can vote in literally every state. Maybe that becomes a little bit obvious. If one person votes in Pennsylvania and Arizona, Pennsylvania and Arizona are not going to take both of their lists and cross them over. It's going to be up to organizations to get the voter rolls to see who voted. You're not going to see who they voted for, but you can get their name and see if they voted, and then run them through a computer program. Shouldn't be too hard, and see who duplicated their votes. This would be an interesting idea, and it's a good idea. Should be done right now. I don't know how far Matt Braynard got into it, but I would say right now what we need is the moment the election results are in, the moment, every right-wing organization should get access to the entire database of voters who voted, because you can see their names, run them into it. You put them into a spreadsheet, and then you just tell the computer to find every duplicate name. You're looking for duplicate names and birthdays. Then what you do is, once you get your massive list of duplicates, and you will, you run those through address checks, and what will you find? When Matt Braynard did this with California and Arizona, he found that there were individuals who lived in California and Arizona. You can see their address. You know, John Smith, January 1st birthday, 1970. Lives in California from this year to this year, then moved to Arizona from this year to this year. When you can see that this person has an address in both places and voted in both places, you got yourself a big problem. How do you answer that problem? In which state was the vote fraudulent? All you can really do is go to the guy and say, where do you currently live? Is it Arizona? Where did you vote? Arizona. Okay, California vote, delete. Delete that vote. They don't do it, though. The courts say you have no standing to sue. It's insane. Any citizen should have standing to sue in a matter of an election. They say no. Case dismissed, no standing. The votes you found wouldn't change the results. It's an impossibility. Perhaps the system is intended to be that way. Impossible to navigate. But we'll see, man. I think the fact that Ken Paxton's only just now getting on board with this is worrying. I'm glad he is, but it's worrying. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, become a member at Timcast.com. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all at 6. And for the rest of yous, we'll grab some super chats before we talk about the end of the world. Ukraine invading Russia. Excuse me. This one is flown under the radar, and it's kind of scary. We're so entrenched in domestic politics over the election. This news is huge. Ukraine's incursion into Russia could change everything. Man, it's NATO. This is U.S. weapons, U.S. training. It's crazy, man. So Chef's Chad's Kitchen says, GPT said Trump sentencing in Alvin Bragg's case related to the alleged hush money scheduled for December 4th, 2024. Let me try that one again. Searching for that. I don't see it. It's all stuff from 3 days ago, saying they shouldn't delay it. I'm not getting anything recent. Let's try past hour. Nope. 24 hours. 2 hours ago, Donald Trump asks judge to delay sentencing in hush money case until after November election. That's what I thought. But I don't think it was granted. Oh, and this is from August 15th. That's weird. Is there an update to it or something? I don't know. I am not seeing it. I can try. I'll do this. I'll ask ChatGPT. Was Trump's sentencing delayed? Let's see what it says. Well, it's going to say yes, because they delayed it the first time. Until September 18th, 2024. Yeah. I don't see anything else saying otherwise. Excuse me. Liz B says, your abortion arguments are a little off. Forcing a woman to carry is not forcing a stranger to care for a stranger. It is a biological woman forced to care for her own biological child. Doesn't change anything. My argument is, if there is no consent, then you can't force a person to care for anybody else. Like, it's the same argument if a person had a kid, the kid's 20, and then one day, they decide to attach the kid to the parent. Like, there's an accident, the kid's going to die, so they hook the kid up to the other person and say, you're attached now, your blood is being transferred. If you cut the blood off, the kid dies. You're like, I didn't consent to this. The government does not have the right to force you to provide your body to anybody else. That's just a flat fact, regardless if it's abortion or otherwise. You can make a moral argument for sure about requirement to your children. Fair point. That's your moral position. I think Ron Paul has it right. Not illegal, but unthinkable. We need to make it so that our culture agrees with you and says this shouldn't be allowed. People should be shunned and ostracized for using abortion as contraception. Abortion, I'll put it this way. I think Seamus makes a fair point in the distinction that abortion is when you terminate the pregnancy, but intervening to save the life of the mother is not an abortion if it results in the death of the baby. Agreed. I also don't think you should be allowed to terminate you should abort a baby if the baby can survive on its own. That's literally you're just literally killing a baby for no reason. But again, I agree with Ron Paul on this one. Leon Yoder says, Tim, this go along to get along strategy from Republicans isn't working. Do we need to take a page from the Democrat playbook and start putting Dem leaders in prison to set some examples, or what? I don't think we should use lawfare in the sense of just like, well, we'll put you in prison, but we should be criminally charging people who committed crimes. So red states should charge as many Democrats as possible for legitimate crimes they've committed. Democrats are just making stuff up. That's crazy. Let's go. John Burt says, big shout out to Raymond King. Great job on IRL. Raymond is great. He's good at it. He's good at it. That's why he's been on several times this week. He's officially in our rotation for our third chair. So you'll notice Libby or Ian, Shane Cashman. Every so often, Brett and Mary from Pop Culture Crisis hop on. Phil, of course, Phil Labonte, who's currently on tour, is our most frequent third chair, but now he's on tour. And so Raymond will absolutely be in that rotation as well. Dylan Kellen says she consented to pregnancy at the time of sex. Agreed. That's why I think abortion as contraception is wrong. She agreed to offer up her body when she decided to allow life into her body. I don't see anything. Yep. You made that choice. You said yes. You have created a life contract with another life. You can't just kill it now. You agreed to this. That's why I said the issue is of consent. If you didn't consent to offer your body to someone else, the government can't force you. The argument from the moral stance that Seamus made to me is 9 months of pregnancy is the lesser moral evil than killing a baby. I get it. It's a moral argument. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it's a moral argument. So it is what it is. Cody says, do you think the FBI is going to start recording crime stats correctly when Trump is in office? Yes. Unless Trump cleans house. Let's jump to this next story, my friends. We've got huge news from Politico. Ukraine's incursion into Russia could change everything, Mark Kelly says. This really set Putin back on his heels, he said of Russia's president. It really depends if China is ready to engage, to take Taiwan, and they want to go to war. If China stands back and lets this happen, I don't know what Russia can do, but Ukraine has invaded Russia. I think this is the scariest outcome we could have seen. Hindustan Times, not that I think is the greatest source or whatever, NATO rift over Ukraine, Kursk's incursion exposed. Italian deputy prime minister warns West of World War III. Yeah, here we go. Telegraph. World War III is closer than anyone dare admit. I mean, I've been talking about it. Ukraine has invaded Russia. Let's pull this up. Let's pull up the map here. We're grabbing it and we'll do Kursk, Russia. This is Ukraine invading Russian territory. Let me close this, drop this in. Okay. Kursk. Here's the map. Here's Ukraine, and they have invaded this territory of Russia. It's kind of hard to see, but here's the border of Ukraine. They've now invaded Russia. I mean, we saw this coming. Do you think Russia is just going to sit back and say, Western forces are invading our country, we're going to do nothing? They've lost their minds. You vote for Kamala Harris, my friends. Don't be surprised if your sons are drafted. Don't be surprised if your daughters are drafted. The Democratic Party wants to expand the draft to women. All of these single cat ladies, the greatest thing in the world for the Western war machine. You know why? If you are a parent, if you're a woman who's pregnant, they're not sending you to fight. If you're a woman who has a young child, they can't send you to fight. If you're a young man, bye, you're first in line. Harry Sisson's going to be on the front lines. I'm not kidding. They're going to have him do some kind of PR role, frontline stuff if it really comes down to the draft. He's young enough. He's perfect for it. If World War III really does kick off, if Russia does expand this conflict, and then, look, I can give you a scenario. Let's jump back to the map. Kursk gets invaded. Russia, here's a strategy. And I'm saying Russia could have a simple strategy. How do you force Ukraine to back off from the Kursk region? You attack Latvia. You've got Kaliningrad right here, this chunk right here on the Baltic. This is Russia. Kaliningrad right here is a Russian oblast that is not connected to Russia. It is bordered to the north by Lithuania and to the south by Poland. They could launch an incursion from Kaliningrad into Lithuania. In fact, they could attack Lithuania from the south and Latvia from the east. It'd be a massive expansion, but it would force Ukraine or NATO to reassess. Now, I don't know that Russia could handle by itself going up against all of the Western powers. The question then becomes, how does Turkey handle this? The question then becomes, what does China think? Russia's huge. If China enters the fray, joining Russia, taking Taiwan, splitting U.S. forces, welcome to World War III. Not to mention, we've already got a crisis in the Middle East. You've got the Houthi rebels in the Red Sea attacking shipping lanes. Saudi Arabia, Yemen. You've got Iran. Things are heating up. And I think that I fear. I don't know. I fear we will have full-scale war before the election. I mean, I feel like it would result in Trump winning, but this is their failsafe. The military-industrial complex, they call it, wants the war. If Donald Trump becomes president and the war is already on, it will be very, very difficult to stop. And Trump may have no choice but to say, we're going to see this through. We can't stop now. I think Trump will attempt to bring peace. But I do believe that Democrats will try to make this war happen before anyone can change office. Speaking on CBS's Face the Nation, the Arizona Democrat said 130,000 Russians have had to leave their homes at this point in the conflict. I think the Ukrainians did something unpredictable that could really change the tide of how this conflict is going to play out. At the time of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, there were fears that if Ukraine and its allies expanded into Russian territory, a regional or global conflict could break out. The war, however, has largely settled into a stalemate, at least until Ukraine's forces crossed into the Kursk region in Russian territory. It's simple. Low-yield tactical nukes. Russia is not going to tolerate its city being evacuated. How long until Russia says 100 kilotons? We'll keep it small. End Kiev. That ends the war overnight. I don't know that we'll see that we see that right away. I think what we see first is likely going to be low-yield nuclear artillery, flattening the eastern region of Ukraine, just wiping out some key areas. If Russia uses any kind of actual higher-yield nuclear weapon, then it's World War III and they know it. But I don't know that it matters anymore. This is psychotic. Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by the Democrats. I will stress this again. One of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine. They are expanding this war. Now, don't get me wrong. I know you've got criminal elements of the U.S. government pushing them and guiding them and telling them what to do. Ukraine is now accused, a German warrant issued for blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline, triggering this conflict. Ukraine is the greatest threat to this nation and to the world. We should rescind all funding and financing, pull out all military support, and we should apologize to Russia. Vladimir Putin's a bad guy. Not a good dude, don't like him. But for what reason are we now allowing Ukrainian forces to invade Russia? Russia's only recourse if they lose the Kursk region is going to be just carpet bombing Ukraine. They cannot win. But by the graces of Russia does Ukraine continue, because Russia has nukes. Russia is deciding not to flatten Ukraine. If Russia decides right now that an invasion into their territory is too much, and so they decide to just carpet bomb or nuke Ukraine, it's over. Maybe that's what NATO wants. Justification for entering the war and scaling things up and starting World War III. World War III being the excuse by which they can rush into Russia, destroy their government. Putin's in between a rock and a hard place. What's he going to do? Allow NATO to expand on its border? Literally invade its territory? It did. Will China intervene on behalf of Russia? Things are getting crazy. At first, we heard that the Ukrainians were firing rockets into this region. And they said it's because Russians were attacking them from this territory. Now they've invaded and triggered an evacuation. On Sunday, host Margaret Brennan asked Kelly if he was comfortable with American weapons being used on Russian soil. I am at this point, Kelly said. The Ukrainians were illegally attacked by Vladimir Putin. He's intentionally killing women, children, old people. It was an illegal invasion. Illegal? It's an invasion. This incursion, and let's characterize it that way for now. I don't think the Ukrainians want to intentionally hold Russian territory for a long period of time. But this really set Putin back on his heels. No, it didn't. Putin's allowing it to happen. That's the reality. He's allowing it to happen. I will stress this again. At any point, Vladimir Putin could scale up the weapons that he's using, and he can say 10 kilotons. Flatten this region. Not Kursk. Flatten, I don't know, Donetsk. What are we looking at? Likely where they're invading from, here's Kursk, from Sumy. Flatten them. He can literally just flatten the rural areas outside of it. He can destroy any means by which vehicles could transport through, and he can say, cut them off. Tactical or nuclear artillery. I mean, the reality is this, my fear. Vladimir Putin nukes Kiev with a 100 kiloton bomb and says it ends today. The people of Russia won't tolerate this. But I got to tell you, there's another reality here. Putin may be very happy that they invaded Kursk. It's going to allow him to mobilize a war effort. He may be sitting back being like, thank God they finally did it. Now he goes on TV and says, NATO, the United States, through Ukraine, have attacked and invaded our country, displacing 130,000 people. He might then say, my fellow Russians, you must mobilize. We need weapons manufacturing. We need resources. We need food. The war has been brought to us. If you sit back, the West will destroy us. And this is going to ignite the people of Russia. This may be what Putin was hoping for. So then, with the mass mobilization, they go in and crush Ukraine. If it really did escalate to that point, I fear Putin would then bomb Kiev. You know why? Because ain't no European nation is going. What did they say? Which city was it in Poznan? I think it was. Might have been. Some EU parliamentary member says no one is going to sacrifice New York for Poznan, Polish city. If Vladimir Putin really was to nuke a Polish city, there would be no dramatic mutually assured destruction escalation. If Putin were to attack Kiev with a 100 kiloton bomb flattening city center, just decimating their center of central governance. Is NATO really going to scale this up? I do think that if Putin were to drop a nuke on Ukraine, Democrats would be in trouble because a lot of people in this country are going to blame them. They're going to say, Ukraine, if we did not support it, a country we have nothing to do with, Russia would have come in and taken the land, but that would be the end of it. The escalation's crazy, man. I don't know what else to tell you. Invasion? What invasion? Putin is downplaying Ukraine's Kursk offensive. Sure. Atlantic Council. Warmongers. Kelly added, since the invasion now over 2 years ago, we have, periodically, as we should reevaluate, how we're going to conduct ourselves with regards to Ukraine. As soon as Ukraine invaded Russia, the U.S. should have cut off all funding. But the point is, Ukraine's a vassal state of the United States. Russia knows this. We are being dragged into that war. I'll leave it there. Smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Subscribe if you didn't already. Thanks for hanging out. Next segment will be at 8 p.m. at youtube.com/TimcastIRL, and we'll see you all then. For everyone else, there's Super Chats. David Molinarolo says, Ukraine's invasion of Kursk Oblast is a bargaining chip. Ukraine will give their land back if Russia gives back Ukrainian land to the 1991 borders. Russia doesn't need to. Invading Kursk is not something they can maintain. Trump needs to get in so we can end this. Trump needs to win the election so he shuts down the war, cuts off their funding. Kane Abel says it won't only be Russia. It will be its allies as well. China will be in that fight to gain Taiwan. Yep. Andrew says Canada's predicting a 99% chance of conservatives winning. If liberal Canada can vote for it, I feel Americana, or it says Americanca will vote for Trump too. Typo there, buddy. Yes, man says I'd almost rather live in a world ruled by singing toilet heads. Ha ha. Voice of the People says I'm about 30 minutes behind, but look at Alabama HAVV for the past month or so. How is it a fall rate of 25% and 20% at good matches have already passed? It's an algorithm. Interesting. Jonathan Peter says, Tim, it was New York for Paris and was France's reason for developing their nukes independently of the U.S. and UK. Wrong. Recently, in the past 7 or 8 months, there was a European Parliament member who said no one would sacrifice Poznan or some city in Poland for New York. What you're talking about is something probably a long time ago when France developed their nukes. No, let me find the quote. No one would sacrifice New York for Poznan. I think that was the quote. Okay, I'm sorry. It was a Russian academic. Yep. No American president will sacrifice New York or Boston for Poznan or Frankfurt. That's what it was. 6 months ago. Let's see. On February 18th, 2024, an interview with renowned Russian academic. Here we go. February 18, 2024, Spanish outlet El Confidencial published an interview with renowned Russian academic Sergei Karaganov. In the interview, he stated, any war between Russia and NATO will end with a nuclear blow on NATO countries. Nobody will protect them because Americans are not crazy. No American president will sacrifice New York or Boston for Poznan or Frankfurt. That was the quote. So that's how Russians feel about this. They will nuke Kiev because Kiev ain't even Frankfurt. I mean, geez. All right, we'll grab one more here. Buddy says we are being dragged into multiple fronts with a weakened military. Taiwan, Ukraine, South Korea, and we are trying to get Japan to buff its military. The writing is on the wall. Yeah. My friends, these are dark times indeed, but I'm going to wrap things up. Next segment will be tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Tonight's guest, of course, Michael Malice. We're big fans. We're good friends. I'm glad he's back. We love his work, and it's going to be a fun and funny night. It's always great when Michael's here. So thank you all so much for hanging out. Smash the like button. Subscribe to this channel. Become a member at Timcast.com. I think maybe I'll run a big commercial for this new morning show. If they let me, I bet they won't. So, we'll give it a shot. But again, smash the like button. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.